Magic the Gathering and D&D have teamed up and are coming out with a Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate card set on June 10th. Now, I don't cover Magic the Gathering on this channel, but these cards are pretty interesting because they include several characters from our very own Baldur's Gate 3. A few of these cards were revealed early, and I should also note that Larian Studios themselves retweeted the Astarion cards. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at a few of these cards, see what information we can extract and perhaps speculate on, and turn this into a Baldur's Gate 3 video. But before we jump into it, a quick message from today's video sponsor, GX.Games. So GX.Games is a platform for gamers and game creators, and access to it is completely free, but do note that to use all of its features, you have to be using the Opera GX browser, which I'm currently using, the world's first browser designed specifically for gamers, and surprise, Opera GX is also completely free. I'll leave a link below. On GX.Games, there are hundreds of different games that are available for free, and the list keeps growing every week. The tag system is actually pretty awesome with over 80 plus tags, making it very easy for you to search for your favorite type of game. For example, I'm a fantasy nerd, so if I go to theme and click on fantasy, I can even go over to point of view and then click on isometric, and there you have it. Those are the fantasy isometric games that are currently available. Now, you can play these games basically instantly in the browser, and you even have the ability to add and send your friends messages and also curate your own lists of favorite games, challenges, and also studios. Starting in May, the fast-paced roguelite Doomed to Hell will be free for 3 months. You have to battle your way through hordes of monsters, explore different biomes, fight bosses, collect as much loot as you can, upgrade your weapons and buffs, etc. Every month, GX.Games will also feature exclusive titles, and some popular games that are played on other platforms will actually be free on GX.Games for a limited amount of time, so keep checking every day to not miss them. Also, for you competitive gamers, click on the challenge tab where there's 1,000 USD worth of prizes given out every month. And like I mentioned in the beginning, if you're a game creator, you can easily upload your own games made with Game Maker, and they even give you a nice tutorial on how to do that. So yeah, I'll leave a link below. It's a pretty cool way to play games on a browser designed specifically for gamers. Let's get back to the video. The first card that I want to start this video off with contains a very important piece of information, and some of you guys will spot it right away. And this is on the Karlach Fury of Avernus card. So Fury of Avernus is just alluding to the fact that Karlach fought in the Blood War, which is the ongoing war between devils and demons, and she served under the archdevil Zariel. When you meet Karlach, she's on the Risen Road in early access, and she's trying to escape Zariel's service, but the game heavily hints at her becoming a companion and also likely an origin character. Like with all possible companions, we of course want to know what class they're going to be, and Karlach has never really been that clear. If you right-click on her in early access, it labels her as a fighter right now, which didn't really make much sense considering that we already have Lae'zel, which is our companion origin character fighter, and 2 fighters just didn't seem that likely for Larian Studios to do. And there's been a lot of speculation with Karlach in terms of her possibly being a ranger, a paladin, and also a barbarian. Now Magic the Gathering has basically made it official for us, and Karlach has been labeled as a tiefling barbarian. It's very unlikely, in my opinion, that Magic the Gathering, working with D&D and also probably Larian Studios, because they're using characters that Larian invented, would choose a class that's not actually indicative of what Karlach is. So I think this is basically official. Karlach is going to be a barbarian and most likely going to be a companion and also an origin character. Now, since we're on the subject of possible companions, I have to show you guys the Daddy Helson card. There's really no information on this card, but there is some new artwork, and obviously it looks like it was really well done. You can see Helson with the bears and, of course, the trees in the background. Helson seems like he could be a possible companion. I think there's also a chance that he might just be a story NPC, but we don't really know at this point. Moving on, we have the cards that represent the current companions in Baldur's Gate 3's early access. We have the Lae'zel card, which says Lae'zel, Vlaakith's champion, and Vlaakith is the ruler of the Githyanki race and also a Lich Queen, and in many ways regarded as a goddess. The Gale card, which says Waterdeep Prodigy, because Gale is from the city of Waterdeep, or he lived, or maybe still lives in Waterdeep. I can't remember exactly what he says in the game, and Waterdeep is a city to the north of Baldur's Gate. And you can see in the artwork, it's kind of representing the Nether East Destruction orb that he has in his chest. We of course have Astarion the Decadent, and more on Astarion here momentarily, so make sure to stick around for that. Shadowheart, Dark Justiciar, or Dark Justiciar, depending on how you pronounce it. The only thing interesting about her card is it kind of looks like the outline of a moon in the background with the magic. And there's a theory out there, a theory that I think could possibly be true, that Shadowheart actually used to worship the good goddess of the moon, Selûne, and didn't actually choose to worship Shar, the goddess of darkness. And perhaps this is just a little indication of that, or I'm just looking way too deep into it. I'm sure the latter is probably the case here. And then Will, the Blade of Frontiers, with some cool artwork of his village burning in the background. This next card is the Raphael Fiendish Savior card, and Raphael is a devil that approaches your party and tries to make a deal with you and tells you that he can help you with your tadpole problem, but making a deal with a devil is usually a pretty serious thing, and oftentimes it results in you giving your soul to them when you die. But at the same time, having a tadpole in your brain is also pretty significant, so some of you guys, when the game actually comes out, might consider doing something like this if the game allows us to do this. The information on Raphael's card that we didn't have before is that he is a noble, and this is where I'm going to bring Astarion back into the equation. But first, have a listen to Brandy Camel, the lead community manager over at D&D, talk about the Raphael Magic the Gathering card.
Raphael is another reference to Baldur's Gate 3. I believe he is the mysterious benefactor who is responsible for Astarion's affliction, we'll say. It's a little bit of a story beat that kind of winds out a little bit later. I won't get too far into spoiling it, but he is a noble that resides within Baldur's Gate, and he is very fiendish in nature. So
now, Brandy wasn't insanely confident with her information, as she said in quotations, "I believe," but we're definitely going to still break this down. So Brandy said that Raphael is responsible for Astarion's affliction. And by affliction, I'm not sure if she's referring to Astarion being a vampire spawn or if she's referring to the tadpole affliction. Regardless, as far as I know, this is information that we didn't have before, as I don't recall any scenes where the game indicates that Raphael and Astarion have any connection to each other outside of Raphael visiting our camp. Now, what we do know is that in the past, Astarion started seducing a young fellow noble, trying to lure him towards his master, the vampire lord Cazador. Astarion was not successful with this, as he was kidnapped by a mind flayer and infected with a tadpole on the same ship that your player character is on in the beginning of the game. If Raphael was responsible for Astarion's affliction, and in this case we're talking about the tadpole affliction, considering that we now know that Raphael is a noble who resided in Baldur's Gate, which is also where Astarion was, could it be that Raphael was the one that Astarion was attempting to seduce and bring back to his master? Was Astarion ultimately tricked by Raphael and put in a position to be captured by mind flayers? If this was the case, it also makes me wonder if Raphael is perhaps working with the Cult of the Absolute. Now let's change it up and say that when Brandy says affliction, she's talking about Astarion being a vampire spawn. If this was the case, then that would likely mean that Raphael is in league in some way, shape, or form with the vampire lord Cazador. If you explore Astarion's dialogue enough, you can actually learn that his master, Cazador, made some infernal pact with a devil, and this pact is partially carved into the flesh of Astarion's back. This, of course, now makes us wonder if Raphael is the actual devil that Cazador was working with. Have a listen to one more clip of Brandy talking about Astarion.
He is an individual who's kind of been operating in that place between being rising to nobility, but hasn't quite made it there yet. And so he's kind of under the thumb of Raphael. And is not super happy about it.
Now this confuses me a little bit because I feel like Cazador would be the thumb that Astarion is under, and perhaps Brandy just got her information confused and mixed up the names. Or did she? Perhaps Astarion was underneath Raphael in terms of nobility in Baldur's Gate, and this created some sort of conflict. Let me know your thoughts below in the comment section. Back to the cards, and I'm going to speed things up a little bit here because this video is becoming quite long. Perhaps I'll do a deeper dive into these other cards sometime in the near future. So we have an Elder Brain card, which is obviously very relevant to Baldur's Gate 3. An Elder Brain is basically the physical and spiritual center of Mind Flayer communities, and I think we're going to encounter an Elder Brain at some point. I'm not sure if the Mind Flayers that we've dealt with in early access are renegade Mind Flayers or if they're under the control of an Elder Brain. It'll be interesting to find out, but it's cool to see a card for this. Now this picture is from another Elder Brain card in the set, and it's interesting because it kind of looks like mass Ceramorphosis, which might hint at a potential plot that is in Baldur's Gate 3, where the Mind Flayers, or perhaps the god of the Mind Flayers, Ilsenstein, is trying to turn everybody into Illithids or Mind Flayers. Something interesting to think about. Then we have a Cultist of the Absolute card, which is very relevant to Baldur's Gate 3. It came from Baldur's Gate 3, and it's cool to see the Cultist of the Absolute becoming canon D&D lore, and I would imagine that it's going to be something that's in Dungeons & Dragons for the foreseeable future. Then we have a card for Zevlor, our favorite tiefling in the Druid's Grove, and he is an Elturel exile. The tieflings got kicked out of the city of Elturel after it returned from the Nine Hells. The tieflings' bloodlines go back to the Nine Hells, so the people of Elturel, I guess, are scared of the tieflings, so they kick them out of their city. And then a card for the one and only Volo, the Itinerant Scholar. Not really sure what Volo's role will be in the game. Some people think he might become the Bard Companion. I'm more so leaning on him being a camp follower. So I don't think there's anything in these cards that's new, but it's kind of cool to take a look at them. This card right here is Lulu, the Loyal Hierophant, and Lulu actually served Zariel when Zariel was an angel, and now Zariel is the Archdevil of Avernus. Lulu is a pretty important character in the Descent into Avernus adventure module for Dungeons & Dragons, and I think it's cool that they included this card in the set, because Lulu showing up in Baldur's Gate 3 would just be so epic, and I think so many of you guys would love a character like her flying around. So this got me pretty excited. I wanted to make sure I just showed off the card. Hopefully we'll see Lulu in the future. Now these particular cards, some of you guys will take great interest in, as they are possible companions in the original Baldur's Gate games, and a few of them definitely stand out here. I'll start off with Viconia, and the reason why Viconia is important here is because Viconia actually worshiped the goddess Shar, and Shar plays a very big role in Baldur's Gate 3. Viconia is a companion that a lot of players really liked having in their party in BG 1 and 2. And being a drow, it's very possible that Viconia could still be alive. Definitely think this is a possibility, and it's cool that we see a card for it. Then, of course, we have the Minsc and Boo card, and it seems very likely that we're going to see Minsc and Boo in Baldur's Gate 3 at some point. Minsc is a human, so he should be dead, but the catch with Minsc and Boo is that they were petrified for over a century, and when they were petrified, they didn't age. So Minsc and Boo are very much alive, and I think we're going to see them, which is going to make some fans of the originals very, very happy, and also people that don't know the originals, you're going to have some new characters that you fall in love with. Then we also have Jaheira's Respite, which is a spell. It's not actually Jaheira, but it is possible that we might see Jaheira. Jaheira would be quite old, but definitely could still be alive and well. And then Imoen is on here. Imoen should be dead. I think Harbs Narbs did, actually I know Harbs Narbs did a video on what companions could still be alive, so I'll find that video and leave a link in the video description for those of you guys that want to watch that. Speaking of the originals, there's also a card for Sarevok and John Irenicus. Sarevok is the main antagonist in Baldur's Gate 1, and John Irenicus is the antagonist for Baldur's Gate 2. Who knows what's going to happen in Baldur's Gate 3 with these two iconic characters. I think many fans of the originals will prefer that they don't come into the game, at least in any significant way. Sarevok was already brought back for the Throne of Bhaal expansion in BG1, and Irenicus's ending was pretty significant. I believe his soul is trapped on the Shadowfell plane right now, but still, we have the cards. Not sure if it's just a shout out to the original or if it's some indication for BG3. We'll leave that up to your imagination. And the last few cards that I'm going to show you are all characters, with the exception of Ellen, characters that we don't know of in D&D lore. So they could have been created specifically just for this Magic the Gathering card set, or perhaps Larian maybe created a few of these and then told Magic the Gathering and D&D, and then they included those Baldur's Gate 3 future NPCs into their card set. Honestly, we have no idea, but it's kind of cool to look at these characters and speculate. So we have Alora, which is a halfling rogue, Kadira, the Caller of the Small, which is an orc ranger. That would be a really cool companion. Aranis is a Gloomstalker ranger. Now, Gloomstalker is a subclass that's not in the player's handbook, so I'm not entirely sure if we'll even see it in Baldur's Gate 3, but perhaps we will. Then we have 3 Dragonborn legendary creatures: Kralessa, the Scale Singer, which is a Dragonborn bard; Levan, a cultist of Tiamat, is a Dragonborn shaman; and then Skanos Dragonheart is a Dragonborn Ranger. This would be my personal favorite. If we could meet Skanos in Baldur's Gate 3, maybe even a companion and origin character. Please do it, Larian Studios. Please do it. And the last card is Ellen Harbreeze. And the reason why this card is significant is because Ellen runs a bakery in the upper city of Baldur's Gate. And I would imagine that when we go to the city, we might be able to visit this bakery and meet Ellen herself, which would be really cool. And that's going to be it for this video. As you guys could tell, I could probably go very deep into a lot of those cards and do a bunch of research and stuff, but man, this video is already 15 minutes long. People's attention span's only so long. Trust me, I know from my YouTube analytics. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know your theories and ideas about these cards below in the comment section. Much more Baldur's Gate 3 content to come, and I'll catch you on the next one.